The elevator doors slide open. A young woman walks in, frantically pushing multiple buttons like she can't decide where to go. She keeps glancing around the corner, almost like she's hiding from someone. Or something. Suddenly, she steps out and starts making strange hand gestures, like she's communicating with an unseen presence. Then, the doors close behind her, and she disappears forever. That eerie footage is the final recording of Eliza Lam. In just 4 mysterious minutes, something happened that led to one of the most haunting unsolved cases ever. This is the last moment to turn around, because what comes next might keep you up tonight. Don't beg me later to hug you goodnight. It took LAPD nearly 2 weeks to release this footage to the public. Yeah, I'm somehow not surprised. Experts who've analysed the video think Eliza might have been experiencing a manic episode or psychotic break. They use the term psychomotor agitation to describe her restless, erratic movements, something that can happen during severe mental distress. Imagining what she might have felt in that moment is heartbreaking. But here's where things get even weirder. Some people believe the original video was tampered with before it was released. They point to missing time, possible editing, and an obscured timestamp. There's speculation that almost a full minute of footage was cut out, maybe to protect someone's identity, or maybe because it held answers someone didn't want us to see. Then, in the blink of an eye, the video cuts off. After 2.5 minutes of her unsettling behavior, the elevator doors finally close, and Eliza is gone. This is the last time we see her alive. Why was Eliza acting so strangely? Was it mental illness, drug-related, or something far more sinister? And most importantly, what happened to her after she disappeared from the elevator's view? To find out, we need to trace her story back to the beginning, back to who Eliza Lam was, and why she ended up at the Cecile Hotel in the first place. Eliza had been fighting her own battles long before she ever set foot in Los Angeles. If you take a closer look at her online posts, you'll see hints of a young woman wrestling with inner turmoil while trying to figure out her place in the world. You can almost feel her hope and uncertainty pulsing through every word. But was her decision to travel to California a bold move towards self-discovery, or the start of a horrifying tragedy? Eliza Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada, with all the usual hopes and dreams people her age have. She was enrolled at the University of British Columbia, juggling classes and everyday life like anyone else. But behind that normal-looking routine, Eliza was dealing with serious mental health issues. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. Her doctors prescribed medications like Wellbutrin, lamotrigine, quetiapine, dexedrine, and venlafaxine. Basically, a whole pharmacy's worth to help her cope. Her family kept her struggles mostly private, probably to shield her from judgment, but you can imagine how isolating that must have felt. If you've ever stumbled across Eliza's blog, you'll see a young woman pouring her heart out in a post from January 2012 titled, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life." She talked about feeling lost and directionless. She mentioned a relapse that forced her to drop several classes at UBC, worrying that people would question all those withdrawal marks on her transcript. Reading her words feels like stepping into the mind of someone who desperately wants to succeed, but can't outrun her own thoughts. Friends said Eliza was caring and thoughtful, but they also noticed a worrying trend. She wouldn't always take her medication as prescribed. Sometimes this led to hallucinations, or episodes so severe that she ended up hiding under her bed or even getting hospitalized. I can only imagine how frightening it is to picture someone you know going through that. By early 2013, Eliza wasn't enrolled at UBC anymore. Instead, she embarked on a solo journey, traveling by Amtrak and intercity buses. She even visited the San Diego Zoo, sharing snapshots that made it seem like she was having the time of her life. Was she seeking independence, or trying to outrun the thoughts that haunted her? On January 26, 2013, Eliza Lam arrived in Los Angeles and checked into the Cecil Hotel. Yes, that Cecil Hotel, with its own spine-tingling history. She couldn't have known this place would soon become the setting for a mystery that still gives me chills. For decades, this Los Angeles landmark has drawn tragedy like a magnet. But what unspeakable secrets lurked behind its walls? And how would Eliza's story become the most chilling chapter of them all? The Cecil opened in 1927, in downtown LA's infamous Skid Row, a neighborhood marked by poverty, crime, and hardship. While it was originally meant to be a classy business hotel, it soon turned into a refuge for those on society's edges. Over the years, its hallways echoed with tales of violence and overdoses, enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Guests reported hearing strange footsteps in empty corridors, and even glimpsing apparitions that vanished the moment they were seen, as if the hotel itself were alive with restless spirits. But the real horror show? The Cecil was home to some of America's most notorious killers. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, reportedly stayed here during his brutal crime spree, and Jack Unterweger, an Austrian journalist turned murderer, also used the Cecil as his base of operations. It's like the building had a gravitational pull for darkness. After Eliza's disappearance, every corner of this hotel will be searched for answers, and every theory, no matter how wild, will be considered. The truth behind Eliza's fate was out there, hidden in a place where nightmares felt more real than ever. On January 31st, 2013, the LAPD got a missing person report for Eliza Lam. She was supposed to check out of the Cecil Hotel that day, but never did. Even worse, her parents hadn't heard a peep from her. That's when the desperate hunt began, a hunt that would grab the entire world's attention. Officers searched Eliza's room and used specially trained dogs to scour every nook and cranny, even the rooftop, hoping to catch her scent. But every lead fizzled out. Picture the frustration. A massive building with a dark reputation, and no solid clues to hold on to. Sergeant Rudy Lopez of the LAPD mentioned a huge roadblock. We didn't search every room. We could only do that if we had probable cause to believe a crime had been committed. Basically, they couldn't just barge into every single room without a specific reason, even when someone's life might be on the line. Desperate for any kind of breakthrough, the LAPD turned to the public on February 6, posting flyers all over the neighborhood and online. They needed witnesses, anybody who might have glimpsed Eliza, but when they released that now-famous elevator video on February 13th, everything changed. Her unsettling behavior in the footage went viral, and suddenly, the world couldn't stop watching. And in a not-so-surprising turn of events, thousands of very professional Reddit detectives jumped in, armed with their own theories. I love the smell of good Reddit theories in the morning. Within hours of the footage being released by the LAPD, the clip was everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, you name it. Traditional searches weren't getting anywhere, so internet communities decided to take matters into their own hands, determined to crack this mystery. Reddit became the main hub for digital detectives, especially on r/unresolved mysteries, where users dissected every single frame of the video. People argued about Eliza's odd gestures and whether the footage had been edited. Some insisted she was being chased by a shadowy figure. Others believed she was on drugs. A lot of people pointed to her mental health struggles, suggesting a possible psychotic break. The line between genuine insight and pure speculation got blurry fast. On the plus side, the massive attention brought fresh tips, new ideas, and even detailed 3D reconstructions of the Cecil Hotel's layout. On the downside, rumor-fueled accusations flew around, targeting everyone from hotel employees to random guests. It was like a true crime version of Telephone, where each retelling got more dramatic. Despite all this online chatter, answers still felt out of reach. Each new theory seemed to open 10 new questions, but whispers hinted that real life might be even stranger than any internet rumor. As we'll see, the revelation that finally broke this case turned out to be more shocking than anyone could have imagined, online or off. The truth was waiting, hidden in the dark parts of the Cecile Hotel. Nearly 3 weeks after Lam vanished, some people staying at the Cecile noticed their tap water looked black and had a strange taste. Maintenance worker Santiago Lopez headed up to the rooftop to check the hotel's 4 giant water tanks, each holding up to 1,000 gallons. The moment he spotted one of the hatches open, he knew something was wrong. Peering inside, he made a nightmarish discovery: a body floating face up in the water. It was Eliza, and guests were drinking and bathing in that water. Yuck. Immediately, people began asking how Eliza ended up in the tank. The water containers were supposed to be locked, and only Steph had the keys. They were perched on concrete blocks, and you'd normally need a ladder to inspect them. Plus, the roof access door was alarmed and kept locked. I certainly wouldn't be able to get there on my own, so how could Eliza? Her body was in a moderately decomposed state, which matched the timeline since she'd been missing. Yet there were no clear signs of violence or assault. Finding Eliza Lam's body answered one question: where she'd been all this time, but raised a dozen more. How did nobody see her climb to the roof? Why did she wind up inside a tank so hard to access? The upcoming autopsy and toxicology reports were the next hope for clues. What caused Eliza's death? Was anyone else involved? And how did her mental health and medications fit into all of this? These are the questions the coroner had in mind when examining the body. One of the most shocking details was that Eliza's body didn't show any signs of physical violence or sexual assault. Even though her body was in rough shape from being in water, which is super creepy to imagine, there was no clear evidence that anyone had hurt her. This revelation immediately shattered some theories and forced everyone to look for a different explanation. Something even more unsettling: her state of mind. Her toxicology was missing quetiapine, one of her prescribed meds. It wasn't in her system at all. This discovery sparked huge questions about how well Eliza was sticking to her medication schedule. Experts pointed out that if someone with bipolar disorder takes antidepressants but skips their mood stabilizers or antipsychotics, they could be at a higher risk for mania. The small amounts of her meds hinted she might have been taking less than she was supposed to, or stopped altogether, which could have made her behavior unpredictable. At first, Eliza's cause of death was listed as undetermined, but just days before the report became public, it was suddenly changed to accidental. What a coincidence. I wonder what they were trying to hide, or whom. Investigators said Eliza's disorder could have caused a manic episode, leading her to climb onto the roof and into that water tank by herself. But honestly, this explanation leaves me with more questions than answers. It felt like a neat bow that didn't fully match the weird details we kept hearing. One of the biggest head scratches was how Eliza even got onto the roof. The Cecile Hotel supposedly had locked doors and alarms to stop anyone from going up there. Yet Eliza was found in a water tank that was apparently easy to reach by a fire escape. That's another great coincidence. Were those security systems actually working, or did someone disable them for reasons we'll never know? Another unsettling fact is how the police handled key evidence. They took a rape kit from Eliza, but never tested it. Ever. Let's be real, that kind of oversight is pretty shocking. It makes you wonder what other valuable clues had been lost forever. And if she wanted to end herself, why did she go through all of the troubles of finding a ladder and climbing to the top of a water tank? Although it sounds a bit creepy, she could have just jumped. And although I do believe in ghosts, I don't think that the hotel's dark past actually played a part in Eliza's disappearance. And that leaves only one possibility: a cold-blooded murder. I don't know if it was hidden on purpose, but I do know that it won't be solved by the police. Unless, of course, a Redditor does their work for them. And I am really waiting for that hero.